All right. It is 10 a.m. on May 1st. Happy birthday to me. I'm beginning my first poker session of this new journey, NL200. I defend, as I will do with probably any two suited, against a min raise from the button. They're probably going to see bet this flop. Pretty good flop overall for them. Against a third pot bet, I think I was going to check raise. However, against this half pot sizing, I'm just going to go ahead and fold. And I will make a note. So we're going to make a note here. We're going to say, all right, we're going to make a note eventually. And we'll talk about notes in a bit. All right, so we're seeing these min raises. That seems fairly popular. 8-6 off is just a little too trashy. Okay, so what was it? 10-3 suited, right table. And so Jack 9 I would have opened from the button, but with a caller, it's just a little lighter than I want to be getting involved. All right, something like that. All right, 7-5 I'm going to fold. I'm just getting situated here. If you are watching these, then you should know that they are going to be very underproduced. I'm going to pour some water. These might end up being streams at some point. Like I might just stream all my play. Pretty much monologuing, talking about my decisions. Yeah, my goal is to play a certain amount of 1-2 at the highest level focus I can and just get better. All right, so this board, I get 3 callers. 3 callers is not ideal with ace-jack, and this board is not ideal, but they full pot. So I'm actually going to make a note of this right away. It's going to say, this is off screen. Pot size bet donk on 9-7-4 two-tone, 4 ways as big blind caller. Okay. We'll say verse hijack, cutoff, button. Like, that's a weird thing to do, right? To full pot it there. Let's see what happened. Did they just win? They won with a no. They check folded turn. All right, so that's very weird. So immediately I'm thinking they're probably full potting with some hands that aren't that great. And then we'll say check fold turn 10, double flush draw. All right, and we'll fold here. So I am going to continue lighter against a pot size bet, and I'm looking at the camera like you can see me. You can't. Oh well. So that's not really the point of this series. This isn't for entertainment. I will be making other videos that will be in the other format that will be more geared towards entertainment. These are going to be sort of not really like coaching. They're basically self-coaching. All right, let me focus up. I'm not going to tell you what this is. I'll write about how I'm going about it. You can read my blogs, zenmadman.com. Hopefully there'll be something there. Ace 10 offsuit though, I'm going to open pure in the low jack. We're just going to talk about the thought process, right? 6-9 is clearly a fold, despite being a super premium. Okay, so I get cold called. I'm feeling there's a lot of cold calls in these games so far. A bit surprising. I would have expected not a ton of cold calling. This sizing is very large. That's more than 5x. So more than 5x against a raise and a call. That's like bigger than pot, significantly bigger than pot. Very odd. I wonder whether that represents a strong hand or like an ace king. But I'm going to take a note of that. Basically, bets or squeezes IP. All right, so pocket deuces, generally I'm going to fold this in this spot, but with the player here in the big blind, I think I can get away with a cold call, hoping to bring them in and maybe catch something on a flop multi-way. Cold calling in the small blind versus button is a thing, both theoretically and exploitatively. I think with a tougher player in the big blind, I might just play 3-bet or fold. But all right, so here they check back. Other player is checked. I don't think the first check is that honest of an action, so I'm not going to go stabbing just yet. Also, this card is going to give a lot of gut shots. Ace 3, 6x, 7x, ace deuce, but I'm blocking that. And they can just win this pot. All right, I didn't call the deuces necessarily to be messing around on a board like this. If the board was a little more disconnected, the turn was a little brickier, and or it had checked through, I can take some stabs. Although honestly, sometimes the hand is just going to check down and my hand's going to be good, and that's going to be fine. All right, squeezes in position to 25 versus 4.5 and cold call. I'm going to actually just say odd. Okay, ace-8 offsuit. This is... I could probably play this. I don't love overlimping, and I think it's a little weak to raise. Of course, if I'm going to flop that, it's fantastic to raise. Ace-10 plus is going to be my cutoff there. Ace-8 could be reasonable, though. Against a player who likes to just go like pot, 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 maybe with those types of hands, do I want to raise more and then kind of see what they're doing and allow them to get a little squirrely? I don't know. Like basically, if I were to flop top pair no kicker, can I just check call 3 times and let them bomb off with air? But we don't really have that strong of a read yet, right? They might have donked for pot with a good top pair on that other board, and then just the turn was gross looking and they check folded. I don't know. I'm going to try and pay more attention to the hands I'm not involved in, because there can often be a lot of information to gain there. So we're seeing someone go with, you know, pot-sized raise. I wonder whether this is, oh, yeah, so sometimes that's a sign that someone doesn't have a well-thought-out strategy. Of course, it can be part of a well-thought-out strategy if you're playing some very exploitative, you know, tactics or whatever. But generally speaking, it's going to be a sign of someone who's just like, I'll just click the pot button. So that's good to know. So far, I'm pleasantly not surprised. I'm just pleased by how these games are. You know, it's 10 a.m. and the games are pretty good. I'm actually going to join the wait list for a third game, though, that has 2 people I've marked as open limpers. So it has the fish bones, right? And if you hover over it and it shows the note, it says fish. My intention isn't really to label people as fish. It's really easy to remember when you just see it. It's a great visual. And for me, it just means open limps a position other than the small blind. Now, some good players might do that occasionally, but it's rare. I'm going to say it's rare. So I'm not going to worry about it. Now, this could be a great squeeze spot, although this player might have a bit more of a bit stronger of a range than they usually would. This is an interesting bluffing hand in certain scenarios. I don't think 5 ways I'm going to be doing that. And so as far as pre-flop squeezing, this is not the hand that I would be looking to do that. This is a hand with great implied odds. I think we generally don't want to take those hands and turn them into kind of bluffs. Also, it just totally unblocks the continue range and the 4-bet range. So I think pocket 6s would have been a fairly tragic squeeze. However, a hand like ace-5 suited, I mean, how could you not? Right, 10-7 off is obviously junk. I do have a flush draw getting 3-1, but it's to the 6 and there's a caller. So not too much thought needs to go into pitching that hand. It'll be interesting to see what Poker Master shows down if they do. I think the other player probably had a club, maybe an ace with a weak club or a 10 with a better club. Who knows? That cold call, though, like, do they cold call with a lot of offsuit hands? I doubt it. Although maybe against the particular opener, who knows? All right, so king 10, I am going to open. And the flop comes monotone. Not the best board. I think we do want to be checking back a lot of hands on this board. I'm going to fire anyway. I'm going to basically pursue a strategy of when in doubt, bet it out. Like if I really am not sure what to do, I'm just going to go ahead and put the 3rd pot bet out there. Now on this board, that could be a mistake. I don't think it can be a huge mistake. Small blind is going to have a lot of suited combos. They're not, well, this player might, but in general, they shouldn't have a lot of, all right, we're going to do king 10 off right table. Okay, so usually I would be 3-betting this. I can flat it some, I think. With that player in the blinds, I am going to flat, and also because I kind of was just letting it time down. Right, the other table looks like it's getting even better, so I definitely want to get in there. It can be a bit of a challenge to try and, you know, keep an eye on other stuff, but as I'm only playing 2 tables, I think it shouldn't be too bad. I'm going to half pot. Third pot would probably get the job done. Now, I think they can be check raising here some with like pocket jacks, pocket aces, pocket kings. I think a hand like ace queen or kings are usually just going to go ahead and bet. They check call. I think ace king can do this some, ace 10 some. If they had something like a set, I think they'd want to get the check raise in right away. So I am going to go ahead and put the bet out here. I need to work on my sizings though. I haven't been playing 1-2, right? This is my first session really playing 1-2 seriously. So, you know, on this straightening card, like 10-9 doesn't make any sense for them to have. It makes tons of sense for me to have, right? I can have that. My bluffs, of course, can be hands like king 10, maybe something like ace 10, something that picked up diamonds that was basically just betting as a bluff on the flop as I could when they check it to me. I am going to call with a queen jack in this spot. This would be an interesting board to donk. I think we probably want to donk this some. This might not be a bad hand to do it with. Or I can check, try and get an honest response from the big blind, and then see if we can go to the small blind into like potting the turn, which I believe I will call, having seen how they played so far. All right, so if they don't bet, I'm gonna go ahead and bet. And if they do bet, all right, they bet half pot. Now, I think there's some merit to raising here, but I don't have a lot of information on them. I'm gonna call. The raise wouldn't be so much because I think my hand's so good. It would be, all right, so they check. I think I can try and get some value here. I'm gonna go on the slightly smaller side, 14. It's about 40% pot, more or less. I do get the call. Not sure about sizing. Let's see, this should show me what they had. They had 10-8, right? Which is a pretty reasonable hand for them to take that line, aside from pre-flop. I mean, cold calling, you know, 10-8 offsuit, a little adventurous. All right, so I think we've won our first river bet, won a couple pots at 1-2. Sit out, book the win. What? No? Okay. I actually feel very comfortable. I'm a little surprised. I mean, I did everything right this morning, right? I woke up about when I wanted to. I went for a little walk. I had my smoothie, which is like a protein drink. And I did a little Tai Chi and meditation, not a lot, a light warm up. You know, I think all those things should get me in a good mental space to. Oh, I wish I had written down how many points. Yeah, because I want to kind of track roughly, you know, how long I think it's going to take to get to the Champions Club. In terms of, that's 32% rake back. Right now I'm getting 25% rake back, plus I get redeposit bonus that, you know, every time they have it, I never end up withdrawing because every time they have a redeposit, I have to redeposit and then get, you know, I don't have to, it's not like I'm out of money, but it's the, you know, you get $400 free. So like, who doesn't want 2 free buy-ins? As you move up, it's fewer and fewer buy-ins though. So eventually it becomes less relevant. But over the course of a year, it clears at about 20% rake back. So 20% plus 25, that's 45% rake back. That's what I have now. It's elite, which I finally made elite. It's not quite supernova elite. All right, so I get 3-bet by this player who does some open limping. So I would expect them to have a slightly stronger range than they would otherwise. I think at this sizing, it's probably close. Maybe I can call. I don't know. Let's note that 6-6 hijack versus button squeeze. I'll say. It's like pot sized, basically. All right, I flop middle pairs hop kicker, and it's a wet board. I wouldn't hate betting this sometimes. I think I'm going to do it. You know, it's a hand that if this was rainbow, I would certainly be checking this. But here I kind of don't really want to let them get really cheap cards. Now, if I had checked, I might have been check folding with a raise and a call. There's no way I'm coming along. And that turn card might look good to some people, but it looks like a heck of, oh, well, that's a run out. Okay, so if I checked and I went bet call, maybe I overcall. Yeah, so they both had a queen. So it was a good fold given, what my opponents had. I think given their ranges, it was even more sensible. But it just turned out that I don't even think I have that much. I'm not even going to review that hand that much. Okay, here, do I want to be squeezing with this type of hand? I think I can. Let's go 23. I can flat or squeeze. These suited connectors tend to play very well as 3-bets in spots like this. Here, I am certainly going to bet. If I go half, 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 that would get it in. So I think we're just going to do that, basically. And I might not barrel off, but I might. Now I will barrel off. You wouldn't maybe call it barreling off. If I go 48... Let's go like 49. It's like really kind of exploitative, just trying to get kind of making sure we get action. So I raise I get led into by the big blind on this flop that I think hits their range much better than mine. I am going to fold. Now, I don't expect them to be folding a lot of like hands. I think an ace is going to call here 100%. I think they can jam some things. If they just had a 10 though and they folded, that's fine. I mean, you just don't always get called when you go for value. I'm not as interested in that spot. Like, that's not a spot I'm necessarily going to put through a solver because I was playing against an opponent who, right, queen 7 off, that just doesn't make the cut. Queen 8 off, I'd play. And, okay, so now I do have a third table. I'm not going to 3 table, however, I'm going to stay disciplined in only 2 table, even though these games look very good. 8-7 suited also in the small blind. I'm going to make a disciplined fold. With this player in the big blind, I think you could argue for a call, but calling a ton of hands, small blind versus low jack, doesn't feel like a recipe for profitability. Okay. So far, so good, it feels. The games are certainly good to this point. And I do have a third table that I guess I will just bring over because I want to keep all the hands on screen. And, this doesn't count as 3 tabling, basically. Like, yes, I do technically have 3 tables going. But, the top one I've already hit sit out. Of course, now I get playable hands on every table, that's how it goes, right? I mean, but it's a raise and a 3-bet, so king, queen off is a very comfortable fold. I think third pot, top right, is pretty safe bet. Now I pick up a gut shot to go with my 2 overs and my ace high. I don't think that's a board on the top left. I want to really be betting into 2 players. I'm going to check back the top right. You could make some sort of inflection bet, I think. And against a min raise and a call, let's go 16. And ace 8, we're going to check back and win some. Yeah, there we go. And top left, again, this isn't a card. This isn't the sort of hand that I want to start doing this with. I can have some like ace jack, some offsuit hands with like an ace of diamonds or just any diamond. And we will check the top left, check the top right, and flop quite terrible. I can either bet range here for third pot, or I can check back some hands. I think 10s are a decent hand to bet anyway, although it's not like I'm getting 6 outs to fold ever, right? Like queen jack is always continuing. But we'll go 10-10 button versus hijack RFI and cut off call, ace king X flop c-bet. Where's my phone? All right, so I have all these alarms set where now what I'm going to do, okay, this is it. That one's done. We'll move that over and we'll bring this up. Cool. All right, so, I've got 2 people marked with the fish bones at each table. So the other table was fine, but I'd rather play better tables, right? Always try and play the best tables available, especially if you're like 1 or 2 tabling. Like, geez, why 1 or 2 table and then play some bad tables when there's better tables available, right? when I get to the point, or if I decide to start playing 3, 4, 5 tables, 6 tables, whatever, I don't think I really want to be moving that direction, but say I did, or say you do, right? If you're 6 tabling or 4 tabling and there's only 4 tables or 6 tables or whatever at the stakes you want to play, then you just have to play the tables you're given, right? And you have to do the best you can. But when you're playing, you know, not all the tables, then you have the opportunity to, you know, not play the worst tables and to play the best tables. And I don't want to spend a ton of time game selecting, right? That's not the main focus of what I'm doing, but it's just an important part of poker all the time. And ultimately I do want to kind of be able to beat any game. That's my goal, right? That's the idea behind this like poker mastery challenge, like 10,000 hours. I think in 10,000 hours, I should be able to beat whatever game there is at least at these limits and the, you know, anything but the super nosebleeds or whatever. But I'd still prefer to play the softer games. All right, so against a raise and a call, I was clearly going to call the big blind. 8-4 offsuit is way too weak. Okay, so we've got a cold 4-bet now. Oh yeah, I've got these phone alarms. Every time you hear that, that's me reminding myself. And if my voice goes away, it's because I'm turning my head away from the mic to look out into the outside. Basically get, refocus my eyes and refix my posture, right? Because I don't want to be developing, you know, neck and back and head problems or eye problems, and playing a ton of hours of online poker definitely can have a negative effect on the body, right? So I want to work against that by just setting these alarms for now, and eventually maybe it'll become a really good habit and I won't need the alarms anymore. But if I always need the alarms, it's not a big deal. It's just a nice little reminder. All right, you know, take care of yourself, right? Like, you can't just get lost in what you're doing. Now, I do want to focus really well. So on the right, we've had a limper, and then somebody decided to make it 13, which is a 6.5x sizing, which is quite large against a limp. Quite a large ISO. I'm not saying it's bad. I usually go to 5 there. I think there's an argument to be made for 6, and they just went 6.5. I'm pouring a little more water. I've got water with lemon here. I actually kind of enjoy this recording without being on camera. It's much more relaxed. You know, I mean, I know some people are like, I want to see your face. Like, it's okay. My face is still here. It's not a big deal. And again, as I said, these aren't primarily aimed at entertainment value. The main thing I'm doing is trying to make sure I'm talking through all my decisions, which I think I have been so far. I'll try and get better at like table 1, table 2. Right? Table 2 folding 5-7 offsuit in the low jack. That is not, I might just gloss over some of those decisions. But I think the idea behind these videos is there's something you can maybe kind of watch a little in the background. I don't know, maybe they'll be soothing. Maybe the main thing is that there's gonna be a narrative, which is basically how does my poker progress over the course of, you know, a while. Bang callus. All right, so that's a real nice flop. I don't have to bet a lot though, because, you know, it's king 7 deuce. So I have basically the only draw that there is. I mean, of course, somebody else could have bigger spades, and they do call. And now I kind of have an option to check it back and take some showdown value with my queen, or make sort of an inflection bet so that then I can bet river. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do 2/3. Oh no, I timed out on the right. This is, I'm only 2 tabling. So I need to remind myself, make sure, there's a note to myself, right? So then, let's see, queen jack, spades, king 7 deuce, spade, queen, bet turn. Okay. I need to remind myself, let's see, note to self. The note is about not doing what I was about to do, okay? So here, you know, I could bet some, basically just repping an ace, but I can also just check fold my 6-3 offsuit that I would have folded to any raise. hit time bank before thinking on other table, right? So basically, I want to hit this time bank if I'm looking at the king nine and trying to decide what to do. Now the jack nine, I don't really need to think too much. And over here, I think I get a 3-bet, right? I think king nine suited, oh dear. King nine suited, button versus low jack, RFI. All right, and so we got cold called, and then this person decides to, I think, click the pot button. I think that's what this is on this. I'm not sure. Probably, yeah. So we're just gonna fold middle pair for pot size. I mean, we don't have to continue for that. That's not something I need to like run a solve on or anything. Queen 4 off is trash. But yeah, there's, yeah, this might end up being a very long text document, but that's what I'm going to work on after the session, right? Which I might not make a whole video of my review. But I will, and I don't know if I'm going to keep talking throughout the video. You know, you can always watch on 1 1/4, 1 1/2, but you know, the idea of this series, again, is just kind of follow the journey of going from an aspiring 1-2 player, hopefully to a solid 1-2 player, ideally to a 1-2 crusher, to then a 255, aspiring 255 player, etc., etc., etc. So the idea is like, if you ever want to watch like how somebody improves over 1,000 hours of play, that's the idea behind this series. So I will take results from study sessions and put them into various other forms of content. Some of them may be shorter form videos that are more accessible to a broader audience, and maybe some books, right? I'll probably write some of this stuff up in books. Maybe even publish a book a month if I can get on that kind of a schedule. But I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on it. I am just going to do the work and kind of release the content that feels right at the time. And if that starts to take off, maybe I'll lean into that more, and maybe pay some folks to help get that done. All right, what is it? It's 10:30. All right, 10:28, feeling good so far. All right, let's see what's going on in these hands that I've folded. All right, so we had just a not very interesting pot on the right. On the left, we had a much bigger, more eventful pot. That's the sort of thing that we maybe want to run back if we have the opportunity. Now, Queen 9 suited, for a single raise, I'm usually going to call. Against that size, I was already thinking, but they got 3-bets. So let's look at this hand on the left-hand table. We went raise, cold call, donk to flush draw. Then there was a raise, check, check. What did they have? 6s. Wow. Ooh, okay. Let's see. Huh. Okay, so what are we going to... We're going to make some notes. We got some notes. With nut flush draw on, what is it? Queen 6-5 two-tone. All right, we fold on the right. We'll check on the left. We'll get back to our notes in a moment. This board doesn't really hit anybody because ideally people are raising those cards, but who knows? I'm gonna give it to them. Checks, turn nuts, bets, pot, river with nuts. Okay. So is that correct? No, the river's not, that's not pot. Bet 75. We're gonna raise this. Okay, I don't want to get too lost in my note taking. That's always, a challenge, right? It's always a challenge when taking notes. This board, I think I'm going to do a lot of checking. I'd probably check call with this hand against any reasonable bet sizing. I'm going to check call again. I now have an open-ended straight draw to go with my second pair. They can have some weak ace-x that they check back. I'm not sure how much value I can get from anything. King-queen, I think I value bet here. Queen-10. I mean, maybe they have a hand like 10-9, Jack-10 that I can get value. Sixes. Yeah, they're just not calling with that. I still can get raised, although that would be very strange. So, you know, I think it's a spot where it's close to a value bet, but the board is just such that I don't think we get calls. In general, I'm in favor of just like bet it out and let them figure it out. Like let people figure out how to call you down, because you know, loose passive players just like to call, and sticky good aggressive players just like to call. So, you know, like to make the hero call. And this person, okay, so we've made a note on the one person that they donk the nut flush draw in that spot. Here, raises set on queen 6-5 versus two-tone versus donker. Checks back when flush arrives, pays river bet on 7 flush 8x run out. Okay, so that's going to be a note. I'm not giving them a fishbones or any particular icon. It's just, you know, it's something we saw. And that was against, you know what, I should make verse loose passive. So yeah, a lot of these quote unquote loose passive players are actually fairly aggro post flop. So that's a thing to, you know, be aware of. You know, like these pot size bets after the flop, I think in general, like structurally, we want to give it a wide berth, right? We don't want to be calling super loose against those types of bets, but we want to keep an eye open, and at some point we might realize we are going to raise these nines. At some point we might realize that their range is not what it quote unquote should be. And now I can do a lot of checking here. Here I think I am going. They have raised me earlier though in a spot where, did that hand ever show down? Yeah, they had a queen, they had a weak top pair. So I think they don't have top pair here very much. So I am going to actually keep betting, which might seem a little bit much, but I am double blocking the nut straight, and I have seen them raise me with a weak top pair before. So by raising with a weak top pair previously, granted that was a multi-way pot, but they do make it a little less likely that in this spot they have top pair, because I know that they're willing to raise weak top pairs. I would expect they're willing to raise strong top pairs. So I like my nines there a lot more than if, you know, if I hadn't seen that other hand. No, maybe I should bet them regardless. I'm not sure, but yeah, again, that's not necessarily a hand I'm going to like run a solve on, because I'm playing against a very odd range. Now we can still run solves in those spots, but I do think that I had a concrete read that don't be afraid to go with your reads, right? Don't necessarily go overboard on a small amount of data, but if you can make an adjustment, a small or, you know, even a decent sized adjustment with a small read, as long as you keep your eyes open, like don't see one hand and then say, oh, this is how this person plays. I know everything and I'm not going to keep updating. No, you get a little information, you form a model in your mind of how someone plays, and then you get more information and you update the model, and you get more information, you update the model, unless the information matches your model, right? You form a model of how someone plays, you think, okay, I think they play basically like this. And then you see something that confirms that, that should just increase your confidence in your model, right? When you see something that disconfirms it, then you should say, okay, well, maybe my model's wrong, or maybe it's just a little bit off, or I have too much certainty. Maybe we're going to reduce the certainty of that. Maybe I think, okay, they usually do this, as opposed to maybe they always do it. Now we know they don't always do it. That's not with regard to this hand, right? That hand was what it was. Jack 7 suited. I think I can fold against a pot size raise. I am going to, and then this one I'm going to look up We're gonna say Jack 7 suited, big blind versus hijack PSR. Is that a thing? I don't know. We'll just say 3.5x RFI. Pot size raise would work. Fold? Call? I don't know. Maybe it's a call. Maybe it's a call. Also, we don't really know what range this person's using. The thing is, the larger sizings offer us a worse price and presumably should happen with a stronger range. The worst price is just an empirical fact. The other one is more of an assumption. I mean, it's correct that that's what it should be, but we don't know what they're actually doing. So one thing I often like to say, though, is that when people do have a calling range, then their raising range, all those calling hands can't be in their raising range. All right, we are going to do this, and we will isolate here. Usually I want to go more like 10. And there's no short stacks that make me want to do differently. All right, we did get called. This is a pretty wet board, so we're going to go ahead and half pot it. This SPR feels like higher than it feels like it normally would be here. This wouldn't be the worst hand to c-bet. I think something like 9-10 or Jack-9 I would prefer, because then I'd have a better kind of backdoor straight draw. I am going to check it, see what gut shot Mark wants to do. Against a very small bet, perhaps I'll continue. That is not a very small bet. That is a medium-sized bet, and I think I can just give it up here. The goal of raising isn't always to get 2 callers and then flop meh. I had something, but I didn't have much. So we will open the pocket 5s should it fold to us. Against a raise, I'm usually going to play 3-bet or fold in this spot. If the big blind was a real loosey-goosey, I would probably actually cold call this, but we're just going to let the 5s go. And see a flop and would have had quads or something, but then the board would have counterfeited us. You can't actually get your quads counterfeited, can you? I don't think that's a thing. I mean, you can lose. You can lose with them. I've lost with them. I made a video. Very short video. Very profitable hand. All right, so I'm going to increase this sizing and, be somewhat selective in terms of the hands I do raise. We'll bet third pot here. I think we can do that probably with range if we want. A 4 or a 5, they should have more of those. Getting check raised, I mean, yeah, I'm beating a lot of straight draws. This is a pretty large sizing though, and I'm comfortable just letting it go. I could have checked back also with a nut no pair, and what hands are they raising? I don't know. They can have a king, they can have sets, they can have the bottom 2 sets, who knows what they have. They can't have a better no pair hand, but they could have something like 6-7 that then has a bunch of equity, and I'm not really going to know which runouts. Like in limit hold'em, I would snap call that, and then if none of the straight draws pair or get there, then we just call down. But that's not really how we're doing it in no limit in general. All right, so game quality check. On the left, we have the one loose passive player who likes to pot it. On the right, we have 2 loose passive players. We've got a couple reads. We have a player that we have a read on in terms of, that's not really a strong read, was it? That was that was how they play this against the loose passive. So that might not have a ton of value for us in terms of figuring out how to play. This is a very small isolation size, and ace-9 feels like maybe actually a hand I can play here, but I am going to go ahead and fold. Ace-10 I would continue. I think there's a pretty sharp line between those 2 hands. All right, and we are going to try to isolate again, or at least just raise for value, right? I mean, it doesn't always have to be isolation. All right. And they check raised us last time. This time we have something that we can call a check raise with. I'm still going to bet, and I am going to look away from the screen and then listen to see whether I hear them raise me. I did not. Okay, very good. Posture check. We are going to raise the 6s and 7-6 of spades over here. So my next alarm is actually a break. So I take a 5-minute break at some point. And here, this is a hand we could start cold calling with some. I'm still not going to do it. All right, we get squeezed. How much more is it? It is 1850, and we're a little bit deeper with both of these players. So I think we can entertain a call because we have enough back where if we win a stack, we're getting well paid. So I am going to take a flop a set, and hopefully win, and even more hopefully win a lot. So if they check, I am going to bet. They bet. I don't think I'm going to do a lot of raising on this board. Yeah, I think I can call and then put in raises later. That's not the best card in terms of just, it could slow them down. Let's see, we have a 3-1 SPR. I do feel a little bit of, anxiety now. So this is what happens sometimes, moving up is like you finally get in a big spot. It's like, oh, okay, there it is. There's a little bit of nerves. Now against this sizing, I am going to go ahead and raise. I think I'm going to make it 88. Oh no, I'll make it 87. Yeah, it's a little joke. I'm representing the nuts. Now they can have pocket sevens, pocket eights. They could have a hand like 8-7. It feels like we just stepped in it and they have 8-7. They could have pocket queens also, and that's even worse. I don't see calling with this hand calling the flop, and then folding. So, if they have it, they have it. And they didn't have it, and that's just delightful. So a little bit of a relief there, right? And I definitely want to review that. So, that stress, what does that stress say to me? Does that stress say I'm not ready for 1-2? No, it says I'm not fully comfortable yet at 1-2 playing big pots, and that's okay. This hand, I think against like a 4x raise, I'm gonna fold. Let's see, we're gonna make a note of that. Just like 4x 3-bet cutoff versus low jack. So we just know that that's kind of something they do. All right, on a board like this, I think we can go small and get folds. A hand like 9-8 makes a very good bet because just anything that they fold is a major coup. Now, when they called, there's some hands I can barrel off. It's hard to have draws here. Like I need like Jack 10 or something. All right, 6-4 suited, I will take a flop. We'll talk more about some other things later. Let's see. We'll go and table 3-bet. And yeah, we'll fold on the left, even though we could be chopping with something. And on the right, this is an interesting spot to put in some check raises. I'm not going to do it this time. Sometimes, I don't know, so I can feel that I just played a big pot, right? I've played much larger pots in my lifetime, but in the recent past, this is the biggest pot I've played online for some time, right? Again, I've played bigger pots in the past, but right now it feels like a big pot. And feeling not even just like emotionally affected, but like physically affected. And we're gonna fold this. If I had backdoor hearts, I can check raise this tiny bet size some. I think that would be okay. I'm gonna have a lot of 4x, they're not gonna have a ton. I still feel like I'm thinking logically, right? But I also feel like I know that my body went through, there's some adrenaline, right? And so I have to assume that my decision-making process, okay, not assume, I have to acknowledge that there's a chance that my decision-making process is somewhat compromised, at least in the short term, right? Like I need to kind of just let it, okay, all right, we won that pot, that was exciting, very exciting, cool. Breathe. Right, just take some breaths. Queen 9 suited on the button against a raise and a call with this person in the blind. I think I am going to play this. I think a 3-bet could be in the cards also. 8-6 suited, that's a hand we can play there. If they check to me, this is a board that I can put some bets out also. I will mark this Queen 9 suited, button versus... Do I want to just take a card or do I want to start stabbing now? I'm going to take a card and then bet good cards, or if they check to me on bricks. Is this the new thing? This 4x? Is this just the new thing? Is this what people do here? So, I might have passed up a good stabbing opportunity, but at the same time, maybe this person had pocket fives and I could have turned a Jack of hearts and had massive equity against a huge hand. So I'm not going to feel broken up about it. I think betting or checking is okay in that spot. If we always bet, we're probably betting too much. And if we always check, we're probably not betting enough. We're probably not bluffing enough. So I think either way is fine. Button versus, what was it? It was low jack, RFI, and cutoff cold call. Call. Okay, king 8 off. This is a hand we're going to play. Now I do flop a flush draw. It is the second nut flush draw on a board where some of the flush runouts are going to bring a straight flush. I also have king high. I'm not sure if this is a hand I want to be check raising a bunch. I think more the ace of spades. This is probably okay to check raise. And then this is an interesting card to lead out, but I'm not going to. I think more if they check it back with like an ace of spades, I think I can bet the river repping trip sixes somewhat convincingly. They bet 80% of pot, which is probably the 3/4 button after rake. And I'm just going to go ahead and fold. But this is a hand that I think is interesting, right? King 8, king of spades, 8x on queen of spades, jack of spades, 6 of spades, check raise flop. Like, I do think that was a credible option. All right, and should I start the sit out process now because I understand that in 3 minutes I am going to have a break coming up, or should I wait for the alarm to go off and then hit the sit out? I don't know. I am going to actually get on the wait list for one of the other games in case I somehow lose a seat at one of these tables. I will wait for my alarm to go off and then I'll hit sit out and we'll experiment with how that works. All right. And like now I'm just naturally doing a posture check and looking away. So turning my head away from the mic so I probably don't sound as loud. Apologies. That's going to happen every 20 minutes. All right, ace 8 suited against a 3-bet. This is, well, no longer an interesting decision, I don't think. I don't think we want to be doing this, but we will look it up later. Just ace 8 suited, it doesn't matter which. Oh, am I going to get there? I'm going to get there. I'm super going to get there on like an 8 on the river. No. Well, those kings have to be glad they were able to get it in pre with queens on that board. That was not going to be an easy board to get chips on post flop. Well, the flop might have been fine, but if the person slow played and it ran out that way. Deuce 6, I think I fold against a hijack. Yeah. And in a squeeze spot, I might actually play it more, although it doesn't make nut straights. So, and that might sound very loose, but playing with 45% rake back, you get to play more hands than when you have a really high drop, right? And these small raise sizes really allow you to play a lot of hands. So I will fold the jack 10 offsuit anyway. Ace 8 suited button versus small blind 3. Continue. 4x plus 3. So basically they were raising for more than that. All right, king 9 suited. I think in the small blind, I want to play this against a button, but not against a cutoff. Against this sizing, maybe I can go ahead and 3-bet, and I certainly can cold call some hands with this player in the blinds. It's not necessarily that we have a read that they play terrible. It's that we have a read that they play somewhat loose passive pre-flop, which helps us in terms of cold calling. And that we do have a little bit of a read post-flop in terms of how they play some of their draws anyway. And a read just always helps, right? If we have some sort of a read and our opponents aren't paying much attention to us, or they haven't, you can play a hand against someone and you can get a read on them and they cannot get a read on you, even if you're both equally good at getting reads. And what I mean by that is you can play a hand just completely normally, and they can have a hand that was a bit of an outlier that reveals information, right? Like if you have aces and you just play them normally, that doesn't give anyone much information. Or if you get all in against someone and they show aces, you haven't really learned much, right? If you get all in against someone and they show ace 5 suited, you've learned something. You've learned, yeah, okay, this person's willing to take ace 5 suited and turn into like a 5-bet bluff shove, or they're willing to call it off against like a 5-bet shove, right? That's information. When they call off a 5-bet with aces, that's not information. That's like, yeah, that's what you do with aces. You put in all the chips when you can. You know, granted, if they limp re-raise and they show aces, now you've learned something. But, you know, you can have sort of symmetrical amounts of information, but not symmetrical qualities of information. And some of that's just variance, right? That's not about how someone plays. That can just be the situations you got. You got a bunch of close spots that are going to reveal your strategy, and they got a bunch of obvious spots that don't really tell you anything. Why did I think, oh, my session time, oh, the session time is not the actual time of this session, right? Okay. Jack 8 offsuit, we play against a min raise, and we flop an open ender, kind of the second best open ender, right? We are going to check raise here. I am blocking some top pair hands. Let's see, 3x, let's go to 11. I'm going to try using this 4x sizing in general. Ace Jack, I think this is just a hand that we call. And this flop, we can have some leads. Here, I am going to bet, we're going to bet on the large side. I guess I could have gone even bigger, or I could have gone smaller to kind of try to induce. I'm not sure about my sizing here on the turn. And let's see, do I want to try and go for some kind of a check raise? Do I want to go for an overbet? I mean, I'm kind of taking away any chance they can have of trying to bluff shove if I do that. If I do that, I might as well, we're just going to, you know what? We're just going to do that and let them figure it out. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I need to go smaller and like induce. Jack 8 off on 10, 9. What was the bottom card? Like a 5? Yeah, 10, 9, 5, 7, ace. It's probably too much. Maybe overbet turn is better. And then, yeah, so I'm not crazy about that hand, but like maybe it's totally fine, right? That's the sort of hand I do want to run a solve on, where, you know, I flopped an open ender, I check raised to 4x, okay, pretty reasonable, I think. I banked and I bet close to pot, but a little less. Why did I bet a little less? Like what was that? What was that? I need to, here's the more important thing, okay? Forget the hand for a second. Create default turn and river sizings in 9-5 office garbage. Ace 9 is not a hand we play there. In common spots, right? So here's the thing. The stacks were a little awkward for getting stacks in because they min-raised pre. By min-raising pre, they kept the pot small. I am going to 3-bet this. We are going to make it 18 is kind of my standard here. I'm just 4xing usually. I can make it 20. But, and then if they 4-bet, I can call some, I can jam some. I think both are fine. I think folding's not very good. On this board, I'm blocking a lot of backdoors. That's a lot of things that are gonna call. Do I wanna always be betting here? I don't think I wanna bet range here. I'm gonna check. And I'm not checking to just like check fold. That's not the plan here. Yeah, so I think taking away the option of bluffing from my opponent was a mistake. I'm gonna check one more time and then we can value bet the river. If they bet, you know, they can have an ace. They can also have hands like 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, I think can reasonably go for value here. If they go really small, I'm like tempted to check raise them. No, okay, that's a very reasonable sizing. And I am going to call it. And then the 5, is that gonna slow things down or what? I don't think they have a lot of flushes here. I think a lot of flush draws bet the flop. It's gonna be a little harder for them to bet with an ace, but they certainly can. You know, a very large bet sizing would be pretty awkward, but on the other hand, maybe more likely to be a bluff. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of bluffs here. Like what are their bluffs even? You know, just some air that they decided to bet turn with and thought I was weak. You know, I think 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s probably are a good portion of their range. Okay, King 8. So they did just have air and they could have turned it in. I was calling a reasonable bet size, so I think they played it fine. I'm going to sit out for a rest. Okay, then we have Jack, Jack. There's just like so many hands to review, right? As PF3 on, what was it, Ace 7, Ace 6 deuce, yeah. Ace 6 deuce, Ace 5. And it was two-tone flush. All right. So we've hit sit out. We'll just pot this on the left and then click it back one, and that's just the sizing because we're in a hurry. Okay, at this depth, I think we're definitely gonna call sevens. I mean, this sizing lets us get away from them some, but I think we do have a chance at like the glory here. Not so much on this board. I've been removed from the other list, that's fine. Okay, and then we just check fold our sevens, no diamond. With a diamond, maybe there's a decision. So we get cold called, which could be like some kind of a big ace. I think a lot of pocket pairs, maybe some suited type things. I think I can just bet like third pot here, and it just looks like I'm just trying to take it, and I don't know if I can do this with range. Now, pocket sevens are certainly a possibility. I did say a hand like ace king, big ace seems possible. Against this sizing, you know, I think they can do a lot of things. Now, do I just want to put it in now, or do I want to wait for the turn? Well, it's going to be 64. There's going to be basically a pot size bet left on the turn. What are the advantages? There are going to be some action killers. If they're bluffing, I guess they keep bluffing. I want to let them keep bluffing. And we're just going to put the chips in now. This is weird. I mean, what, do they just have sevens here all day long when they do this? That'd be an interesting note that they called sevens. Well, fours. Okay. Yeah, good hand. So unpleasant. They did just call, let's see. So what happened? And we have ace king again. Cold call. Interesting. So that's a note, right? That's a note worth having. Cold call 4-4 in big blind versus button squeeze. You know, that's definitely a note of value, right? They have, what was it? Yeah, that turn bet was like really on I don't know. But the stack to pot ratio is such that I just don't see getting away from it. Okay, what was this? Cold call 4-4 in big blind versus hijack RFI, cutoff cold call, button squeeze. Check raise 4x on ace 7-4 two-tone. That half pot turn with only PSB remaining. Right, so, okay, we're gonna take a break. I will be right back. And I guess if I put this as a video, I will edit this bit away. And we're back. Right table seems like it's pretty much done. I did not need a long break, right? What we need is just, you know, it's early in the day. So I basically just need to step away from the game for a couple minutes. Kind of, you know, it was well timed. It was right after losing a large pot, a stack with top pair, top kicker against a set. It's a little easier to take after earlier winning a stack, a little bonus stack even, with top pair against top pair, top kicker, winning with a set. So basically, you know, we got the reciprocal situation. I think my pre-flop call was probably more reasonable, but if they can win a stack there every time, you know, I guess they paid 15 and they definitely got odds on it. Not that they're necessarily going to win a stack every time, and they aren't even going to see a flop every time is the main issue, I think. But I'm not really here to critique their play. I am here to observe it and get an idea for, you know, okay, how are they playing? You know, cold call pocket fours in the big blind against a raise cold call and 3-bet, okay. So now we know that. I did think that pocket pairs were a very reasonable portion of their range. Like, there's an argument that you just shouldn't have a range there, that you should 4-bet or fold. But clearly they don't, right? So they do have a range there. So that's something to know. Pocket pairs maybe are the entirety of that range. I was saying they could have a hand like ace king or ace queen maybe, but in truth, how many of those should they have? Ace king seems like a very easy 4-bet. Ace queen, you can fold or 4-bet. Maybe a hand like ace queen suited, ace jack suited even. And there were flush draws and a hand like 5-6 suited. If they're playing pocket fours, maybe they're playing 5-6 suited. I don't know. But that half pot bet on the turn was like super suspicious. I don't see any merit to really just calling that. I think we either want to jam or fold. I mean, it's not like they're going to bluff rivers if I just call, laying, 5-1, I think. So it's a bit of a weird spot. The half pot bet on the turn it is kind of one of those, you have to make a decision for your stack, even though I'm not really deciding for my stack. Although if they have a draw, like any of their draws, they should be stacking off with, right? Okay, so we have a min raise from the friend on our left, cold call from the button. So the min raising range I think can be fairly wide, but they do have some hands that they just call. So I should have more 2x and 4x in my range than either of these players, but not a ton. I do have 2 overcards as well. No backdoors. Now the 3 is a card that I could bluff. The problem is that any ace now has a gut shot. I think that's less of a problem in no limit, and I need to kind of get over that limit hold'em thinking of like, well, they have a gut shot, so they're never going to fold. People fold the ace X gut shot, I think, in no limit a lot more than they would in limit. All right, so if you're wondering why we've only got one table, the other table more or less broke. Although it seems like it's still going, it's just doesn't look like a very good game at this point. So no, it did basically break. So yeah, we're going to not play that one for now. And I'm on the list of the other ones, so I might not be 2-tabling constantly. That's okay, but I did 3-table for like a minute or two. All right. So since I'm 1-tabling, I can pay attention to every hand I'm not involved in and comment and speculate on the action, at least until I get a second table. Now we're 3-handed. We're 3-handed with the person who we saw that call from. Here I can raise. I think it can go either way. I don't think there's a ton of value in that. I am going to just stick a bet out there, though, as I am blocking all these flushy things. And they min raise. So, all right, my bad. You can have it. And we will kind of revise our approach going forward. 10-6 off, I think, is a little too weak. Now we can have a bit of an open limping strategy in the small blind, right? Have a Neapolitan strategy, have some limps, have some raises, have some folds. I have not really gotten that to a solid point yet, but I do have the gist of it. Wait, that's not true. I really have no idea what I'm doing in that limping range. So what I should do is probably just raise like my button range or a little wider until I get a little more developed in that strategy. Maybe that's a strategy to learn right away, to just say, okay, I'm going to make use of that, so I'm going to have to put the work in. Now the player on our right said reserve for a while, so I don't know what's up with that. They're going to raise, I'm going to 3-bet. And we're going to see a flop because they like to see flops. I don't like to see that flop with ace queen as the pre-flop raiser. I'm not sure if I want to be betting range here, but this feels like a board that I can check some if I can check any board. And they bet half pot, and I'm just going to give up. And we're going to mark that one on 778 as small blind PF3 versus big blind RFI. Okay. And, we don't want to get rolled over there, but at the same time, that's not necessarily the board that we want to be betting all the time. The 9, there were a lot of draws they can have, but I think that hits their raise call range pretty well. I think they've got a lot of those kind of connectors in there, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's a little more Broadway heavy, but like not as big ace heavy. Their raise calling range, right? That's the key. So we have an okay flop here. I'm gonna let this button see if they want to do anything, because it seems like they like to do things. And now I'm gonna click it back. This is just goofy, but like some players, won the minimum bet. Some players, like if you do that, they just really, they kind of freak out. So, let's see, we'll say min stabbed, queen 5-5, rainbow folded to min raise. Whoa. Okay. Where'd that other one go? Here we go. This one doesn't look great, but I can take a seat here, and then there's an open seat there, which I can hopefully someone will sit down who wants to, donate a little to the game. So there's only 3 games running right now, right? So we started off and it seemed like a really, really good time to play. And then now it's gotten like, now we're playing heads up with someone who looks, maybe a little loose pre, but, they have some ideas. I am going to 3-bet this. I'm not sure whether how much we're 3-betting 8s heads up. And I don't want to play a long session heads up. I'm not there yet. That is something I want to work into my game. I'll put that here even. Learn heads up. Because it is great for game building, right? I mean, it's really excellent to be able to sit at an empty table and then people show up and then, sometimes they're good, but if you can hold your own, then that's fine. And sometimes they're not so good, and that's even better. And often then just like there's an open seat, right? Having an open seat, there's value to an open seat. I'm going to call. The value to an open seat is anyone can sit down. And it can be somebody who just wants to dust off stack after stack, or it can be a solid regular, or anything in between. But it's not a solid regular, right? It's an unknown. It's an empty seat. So ace 8, I think I'm gonna have a lot of weak offsuit aces, that type of stuff. Although I might not even call all of those pre. We're going to sit here. Yeah, what? Oh, it's this bug. There's this bug on this site where it says you have a seat, and then you go here and you go, okay, let's sit down. It's like, sorry, the seat is reserved for another member. They've had this bug since 2013 or 2014, whenever they first started offering games in New Jersey anyway. And the fact that they haven't fixed it is incredibly absurd. It's just absurd. Okay, so over there on the right, we've got something brewing. You know what? I'm gonna screenshot this and send them an angry email, because not even an angry email, just, oh, what? That's hilarious. I would have chopped with them on that board. That was the case king. And the 3/8. What? Okay. I'm gonna take some notes on that hand. And we're still gonna try and get in that other hand. Okay, so this is a hand that I have learned is a play. It's a hand that we play in the small blind against these raises, right? Whereas when we're in the field, actually, we play it less. It's very peculiar, but it's because there aren't a lot of people behind us to pick up monsters. Now, of course, the person behind us maybe did pick up a monster. That'd be funny. They didn't. Okay, that's cool. And now I have to join the waiting list again. This is so buggy. It's important not to get angry or upset about those things. It's incredibly stupid that that's still a thing. But whatever, what are you gonna do? All right, so here I'm blocking like all the straight draws. I think I do want to be betting here. Am I betting big? Am I betting small? I don't know. I don't think this is quite a range bet board. I'm going to bet here, and it's going to look like a range bet. Now, I think an 8, does an 8 check raise or call? This is weird. So like they're betting 6 now, which I don't think is a 6. I think this could be at 8 a lot. I'm kind of tempted to just put in a raise now. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make it 22. And basically, you know, if they have a 6, oof, okay. Well, if they have a 6, they might lead here. They might have an 8. So this is very peculiar. All right, what do I think they're doing? I think they have an 8 a lot. They could have a 6 that they're doing this with. Are they ever bluffing this way? Like, I don't think so. That would be the most ridiculous bluff. Now, I wouldn't mind knowing what they had. The fact that they snap bet half pot on river is very weird. Very weird. Every one of these hands at this table so far has been somewhat interesting. I'm still trying to replay the, let's see, we'll bring this back over here and we'll try and get some reads from this hand. And maybe we did get some reads from that last hand that perhaps I am ignoring. Okay, so 18, 17, and a quarter. All right, so we're gonna 3x their bet. I believe this math is right. You can fold this, you can flat it in some scenarios. So let's see, that one, they bet half pot with kings and they slow played. And then 8's just check call, wow. Interesting, okay. Well, that's not what we were looking for. I don't think I can continue now. Although, like, 6 is probably mostly continue in this spot. I don't know. Hijack versus low jack RFI and big blind 4. Okay, so that's like 2 spots to look up, right? That's like, do I 3-bet 6s there at all? I think the answer is yes, but not very much. And then against that sizing, maybe not at all. Maybe that should have been the thing, is against the sizing, not at all. But then against the 4-bet, can I actually call there? And the answer, I think, to that is maybe yes. So maybe I made both decisions wrong. Not sure. All right. So it would be nice if we got another table going again. 9-7 off, I do think I can. And just as I said it, we got a seat. Okay, this time it actually worked. That's nice. Now the table on the right is going to go to the left. It's kind of funny how that happens. Against the 3rd pot, I might peel. You could also mess with people some here, but I'm going to fold. And this person, what was it? I'm going to say verse button, check call 30, bet 50. Oh, that's annoying how that covers that. You can't, like, it won't go away. Let's see, donk 50, call, donk 50 on 6-6-8, rainbow 4-6. Okay. So basically that's just a noteworthy line in my view. That doesn't, we don't have information on what they do it with, but we've seen them do it. We've seen them do it on that. So if they just keep having their donks always be half pot, then that's just something we know. But if we see donks that are of a different size and then we see what they had, then maybe we have a read and then maybe we can infer that half pot maybe means something else. Of course, it could have been texture based, right? That's a texture where I think the half pot maybe makes some sense. I mean, in terms of, I don't know, all my sims, I just do like half pot for the possible donks. King 6 suited is generally a pretty decent 3-betting hand, and we're gonna go ahead and do it just kind of to get used to it. King 6 suited, 3 button versus hijack RFI. And this person I do think like 4-bets, well, we just saw them 4-bet. We don't actually really know what they had, so they could have had aces, ace, king, kings, queens, whatever. So I'm going to say I don't have much of a read on how much they 4-bet or what they 4-bet. So, we do see that they fold some to 3-bets at least. So that's, that's useful. That's something we want to know. Otherwise, we want to adjust our range there. Okay, so this person, now we know that they also like to open limp. So it's a different story now. And if I knew that already, do I play that hand different? Maybe. Maybe I do. Maybe I call. Maybe I call turn and call river. I don't know. I don't love raising turn and then not getting to see a showdown. But there are a lot of different river cards where things probably play out differently. I don't know. That was an interesting hand. I really would like to know what they had, but I just did not feel my hand was going to be good 25% of the time, and I did not feel like the information was necessarily of a value where I want to pay $30. I mean, it can be, right? Calling to know what someone had is a thing. People act like it's not a thing. It's not a thing as much as some players make it a thing, but... All right, King 8 suited, I think, is a hand that I can 3-bet cold. We'll say 8 suited, button, squeeze, first hijack, and cut off cold call. So do I want to be squeezing there? Okay, that is my first marker of the second half of the session. So let's take a moment. Take a good breath, adjust the posture, take a look out the window, look at the tree blowing in the breeze. It's quite windy out. Look at my scroll on the wall. All right, and then come back and feel a little more focused. I kind of want to play this. Ace 9, maybe that is a hand I can play there. In general, in terms of completing, I think I want better implied odds hands, and that is a hand that I could isolate, but if I'm isolating, I think I'd rather have Ace 10 off plus. At some point, I would love to run some multi-way sims that can, show us sort of what we theoretically can play against certain ranges that are limped. And then we can assume that we can probably play a bit more hands against that if our opponents presumably are not post-flop experts, given their pre-flop play. All right, pocket 4s, I will open from this position. I will not be 3-betting against any of the positions. We'll see what happens. And I will call a reasonable 3-bet size. If I am mixing with 4s, then, okay, so here, I think third pot with range is pretty reasonable. I could go bigger in general. All right, let's bet 10 on the 10. They snap called, which made me feel like they just have a bunch of overcards in their range. They can have a 3, they can have a 2, they can have a 7. Do I want to turn this hand into a bluff? I don't think I need to. I think I'm beating a lot of their range already. And I'm not super optimistic I can get them to fold a 7. They had 6s. I guess 6s and 5s are also part of that range. King 5 off, I think it's a little weak. So nice hand by them. That river card, maybe I could have gotten some folds of hands like that, or like a, but at that point, I'm basically just repping overpairs or something that, well, not just overpairs, right? I mean, something that hit the turn or the river. Like I'm no longer representing just like a random 7, I think. I think value betting a 7 at that point would be fairly speculative. If I go bigger on the turn, maybe they fold. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe if I'm betting again, I need to bet bigger. Or maybe it's a spot to just check back. I am blocking a bunch of the draws, right? 4-5, ace 4, I guess 4-6. But yeah. So the turn bet maybe was a little questionable. I think the flop bet is pretty straightforward. I imagine the turn bet can't be that bad, but maybe I'm just supposed to be anything that beats a 7 or like bet a 7. And then river, I don't get to bet a 7 again. Okay, king jack off, I'm gonna fold. 8, now I can bet here like big and just rep like ace king. Do they just snap check a 9? I don't think so. I think my set's good. They can have a king X, right? That's some kind of a straight draw, or they can have some kind of pair thing on that. Now ace 5, sometimes people I think pick it up and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna bet 4-bet this, but there's a lot of scenarios where that's not gonna be the best way. Let's see, let's go 24 with the 10s. And I think we can call some in that spot. Now we have a cold caller in the small blind, so we know that this person has a small blind cold call range, right? So I'm just gonna write that, has small blind cold call range. Versus cutoff RFI. And that's with me in big blind. So they might think that they want to play pots with me. That's possible. They might think they want to play pots with the other player, or they might just have a cold calling range there, right? Which is totally fine. So I'm basically over note taking at the moment to just, I mean, I don't have reads on many of these players, and it's less about the read specifically that I'm getting, although that obviously can be useful, but it's also just about practicing getting reads, right? It's just about making sure that I'm noticing something. In order to take a note, you have to notice something, right? You can't take a note without noticing anything. I mean, you know, I know Poker Tracker and stuff, there's these automatic note generating things, but I think there's so much less value in a note that's automatically generated. And by the way, I think Poker Tracker is great, and I am going to actually call one time and make them kind of prove it. And I'll keep calling min bets. Maybe I should have min donked here. All right, you got an ace? No, you got 3s. All right, king is good. Cool. I mean, this is how I would have played king deuce and limit hold'em. Heads up. So, you know, it's it pays off. Deuce 8 suited, I think that's just like pure fold, basically everywhere, always. But yeah, having a program that takes the notes for you, which, you know, if that's allowed by the site, it's allowed by the site. It's not cheating. If it's not allowed by the site, it is cheating. But, you know, I think there's value in that. And I think, you know, assuming it's not cheating. And I think Poker Tracker has a great product. I wish I could use it on this site, but you can't. But there is something to be said for noticing those things yourself and making those notes yourself, because it's like in school, whenever I took notes, I never went back and read them ever. But the process of sitting there and taking notes was basically, it forced me to pay enough attention to be able to take a note. Now, 10-7 of spades is not a hand I'm going to continue against a 4-bet. It's just too weak. Against that sizing, I think I need like 10-9 of spades. 10-8 of spades maybe is a close one. Against some sizings, I'm sure. And against like a really small sizing, like just like 3x or something, like what someone would usually use in position, I think I can actually defend 10-7 of spades. All right, my 7s are good. Let's see. All right, we got another. Where do I want to sit here? I'm going to actually sit here. And I'm going to sit out here. So we'll bring this down here, bring this up here. It's going to look a little goofy for a moment. And but we are going to play our last couple hands at that table before we get dealt in at the other table. And I'll have some water. With a delightful lemon wedge in it. Actually, it's a slice, it's not a wedge. Okay, so, you know, when a table goes bad, you should also notice that. It's an easy thing to just kind of be really dialed in to whatever you're doing and overlook it. And all of these things that I'm saying, oh, you should do this, blah, 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 blah. I'm saying it for my own benefit as much as yours. I'm not even certain I'm going to publish this, right? That's kind of, I don't know, maybe not. But what I am going to do is I am going to have a record. I'm going to create a record of how I was thinking about poker now. And then I can look back and say, oh, okay, I've improved this, I've improved that. And like, oh, why haven't I improved that? Or, oh, hey, when I went to 1-2, like maybe my thought process was better than I might have given myself credit for, right? Or maybe not. That's, I think it's great though to have video, like old video of your own sessions, right? I would recommend it. Just download OBS Studio, get a free 30-day trial of Camtasia, whatever. You can Google these things like free screen recording software. Have a mic, set up your mic. I mean, you can even just record yourself playing and then you can go back and look at the video of it. But I think having a mic and talking through hands, and now this table has also gotten worse. 10-8 off against this. Am I playing this? Yes, I am. Bottom of range. Okay, and I flop the worse open-ended straight draw. I can check raise this some. I can check call it some. Let's check raise. I'm basically opting for the aggressive route when I'm not sure which thing I want to do. 4x would have been 1156, I guess. But I pretty much want to get used to just putting myself in some of these situations that I maybe historically haven't been as comfortable with, and just kind of see, like, how's it play out, right? I mean, check raising the flop isn't like super uncomfortable or anything, but yeah. And then here, like, maybe this just isn't a table I want to play, and maybe I'm just going to two-table. Maybe I'm just going to two-table, or one-table, sorry, for a bit. Yeah, I mean, I think today isn't necessarily the day to go and like really battle it out with regs, right? It's like always have an idea of like, what are you there for? What's the purpose of your session? Where are you in your poker development? What are you trying to get out of a session, right? I mean, I know always like make money, yeah, but that's not my primary goal today. Right? I mean, I always want to make money playing poker, but my primary goal is to learn and to improve and to become comfortable playing in these games and to see, yeah, these are games that I can, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these other tables on the other monitor and I will finish my little yappy thing in a moment. All right, so these will go over there. Yeah, so this poker master person clearly likes seeing some flops, and now they're sitting alone. Huh, so sad. Anyway, I think this is the table where I was in a different position though, right? I must have been where I'm a unitard was, and poker master was where Razy Daisy was when they got that delightful set of fours. But I think it's always important to have like just an idea of like, okay, what's the purpose of this session? The purpose of this session is basically just to get a little bit more comfortable playing 1-2 and to generate a bunch of spots, right? Every session is like a spot generator where let's take a look at this for a second, right? I don't want to delve into it too much. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 spots already to go over. And like I could have written down more. 17 spots. Am I going to be able to go over all 17 of these spots? No. I can look at each of them and give it a moment's thought. But in terms of actually delving into each of them, it's too much, right? So if my only sessions are for this purpose of basically gathering spots, then I don't need to play that many sessions. Of course, I do want to make money playing poker, and you make money by playing hands, not by thinking about hands. Thinking about hands is how you get the skill to be able to make money from playing hands. But ultimately, unless you just start a YouTube channel or a Patreon, and then of course you can make money just by talking about hands, and that is something I'm interested in. Right now, this game doesn't look great, and the other games are not games. There's someone sitting alone at those tables. So, is this a time that I'm going to be able to play 1-2 to my heart's content. I don't know. It's Sunday. Like, what is going on? Did that stream start? Is everybody watching Mr. Beast play poker? I don't think so. All right, so very wet board, right? So does not feel like a board I have to slow play on. I think I want to go ahead and raise right away, and then I can just go bomb, bomb, bomb. If they have me beat, they have me beat. I mean, I have the third nuts, I guess. And if they have air, they have air. You know, I could let them pick up something, but I'm going to be raising some 10 jack. I'm going to be raising some diamonds. It's just a spot where I think I do want to have a raising range, right? But we can look at that. We can look at that. Ace 8 on 988, two-tone, BVB. And here I could 3-bet some. Let's see. Okay. And I'm a little bit tempted to just kind of wrap it because, you know, I mean, looking at it, it's like, well, there's one game. It's not a great game. But I think I can get another, 20 minutes out of this session. I think that's okay. And just focus on the hands I'm not involved in now, right? Focus on rebuilding. I'm sitting here with 4 players. They might all be regulars. I've definitely seen buds before. I think LHC 32 I've seen at these games. I think I'm a unitard. I've seen a lot. So Poker Master, I don't remember. Poker Master 8. I don't know. Not as sure, but I imagine, I mean, right now, the fact that they're sitting alone at a couple tables tells me they probably are a reggish player. And now, just like that, that open seat that I was talking about before, being an asset at a table, now someone sits down with $80 and I have a note on them that I think I took last night when I was kind of spying on games. Yeah, open limps at NL200. What I like to do before I go and actually play at a limit is just open up a bunch of games and watch and take notes on people, right? Like, you can do that. That's allowed. There's some sites where you can't watch tables, and then you can't. So that's fine. But if you're allowed to, you're allowed to. It's like walking by a table in the casino and just being like, okay, how many of these pots are raised pre-flop? Like, is there a lot of 3-betting? Are there a lot of big hands? Or just kind of what's the vibe at the table? And maybe you see someone and they're involved in something ridiculous. You're like, oh, maybe I want to play with that player, right? So that's the idea. So I did take a note last night, and that note allowed me to instantly know as soon as this player sat down, okay, I want to stay at this table, and that's valuable, right? Information has value. So here we are, the small blind isolated really small, right? Was that a really small ISO? Let me check that out. Yeah. Huh. Maybe it's because of short stack, right? Maybe they did a small ISO because short stack. 4 deuce suited a little, yeah, and again, they're using kind of a small ISO. They actually used a bigger ISO size in position. That's odd. I don't get it. Something to keep an eye on. I'm not going to take a note on that yet. You know what? I am. Why not? Why not? Why not take a note? Uses small ISO size versus shorty limper. All right, that probably can be taken offensively, but all right, ace 10 suited. This is a hand that I think a lot of people are going to squeeze. I think squeezing is probably fine. We probably want to mix. Usually when I have the high card on the left, I'm going to take the aggressive action more. High card on the right, I'll take the passive action more. If I'm trying to mix like 50-50. With the big blind, I feel like, well, that's a player I want to play with. So of course they're the only player who doesn't come along, which is hilarious. And if it checks to me, is this a spot where I want to stab? I mean, I'm going to have pocket 6s, pocket 7s, 7-6 suited, some like king, queen, king, jack, king 10 suited type hands. But against a bet, of course I'm going to fold. We will mark this ace 10 suited button versus low jack RFI and cut off cold call. squeeze, or flat. And my guess is that's going to be a mix. There's some spots though where something like ace 10, we only want to flat. Whereas if we have something like ace 6 or 5 or whatever, we're going to be 3-betting more, because ace 10's like too good to raise fold and raise call, 3-bet and then fold. Whereas 3-betting and then calling a 4-bet, it does very poorly in those spots because it's basically getting 4-bet by hands that dominated a ton. All right, so we get 3-bet, and then there's a caller. So 11, we've got plenty of money back. I think this is a spot where I definitely want to call. It's not a huge 3-bet size. This flop is quite poor for my hand. I don't think it's very good for my range either. They're going to have all of the ace, king, ace, queen on the button. I'm going to be 4-betting all of my ace, king, I think, in this spot, and probably some ace, queen as well anyway. I am going to have some like ace X that calls here. With a club, I think I should continue. Without a club, I think this is just a fold. I do have a backdoor straight draw. So if I have a club, then I got a backdoor straight draw and a backdoor flush draw, which is, that's something, or that's two somethings, and a pair, right? I mean, I can hit a set and they can have king, queen, and they can bet it once and then give up, and my hand is good. All right, we get flatted by the short stack button. I think we want to be betting on the smaller side. I don't think we have to bet here, but okay. And now I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna jam if I get there, and I didn't get there. Can I bet like really small and get folds from like diamonds and spades and whatever? I'm gonna do that. Or all right, now this doesn't look like anything, right? This looks weird. Can I just get folds from everything but a 10? All right, I just give up, which I hate. I don't, oof, they had ace king, okay. Yeah, I think jam river there. I really don't like my give up there. 9-8 spade on, what was it? 10-6, was it 10-6-4? 10-6-3. 10-6-3, queen 10, two-tone XX. Okay, and we get, all right, back to battle. We get 4x'd here. I think for 4x we can just give it up. I don't know, they're using this 4x sizing a lot. 4x sizing in 3-bet in position. This seems like what people are doing on this site. I don't know. Is this like just the new thing? That was 4x, right? Was it 4x? Was I wrong? Let me make sure that my note was actually accurate. They make it 18? Yeah. Huh. I mean, I guess the idea is that people don't like people calling their 3-bets out of position, or do they think that they're going to overfold, or do they think they're not going to fold enough? I don't know. I mean, it's annoying. Like, there is some logic to like basically being like, okay, I'm going to use sizings that don't match people's sims, right? Like that's logical. Yeah. We'll do that. Okay. We will tile these now. All right. So for the last 20 minutes or 15, we've got a table with 1 loose passive and a table with 2. Well, we'll see whether they survive. But we got lots of notes on the other players. So that's the sort of thing, when I start my next session, I want to go back and look at the notes. And actually, even now, when I get to a point where I don't have bet flop, bluff river. Okay, the 9-8 suited hand is one I definitely want to review. It was low SPR though. I think I should have just jammed river to just get a lot of folds. And I can peel with like the 8 of spades, but it doesn't seem super. So this is what happened. This player, this poker master, was sitting alone, and then 3 players who have these weird stack sizes all sat down and played with them. So, that's some of the upside there of doing that, of sitting there at a table. and letting people join you. Now, are they going to make it 18 again if they 3-bet, or do they have like different 3-bet sizings? I don't think that's the sort of thing where like the player behind them influenced their sizing. I don't know. All right, so here we've got a 6-to-1 stacked about ratio. That's something that I'd like to always notice and comment on. We have middle pair and open and straight draw. I am going to bet. If I make a straight without the flush coming, I am going to put in all the bets. Here, I will call. I mean, a min raise can be scary. Okay, we're gonna rep pocket 3s, but the tricky thing is we have pocket 6s. Okay, against this kind of player, I think I can just fold. I'm going to make a note about that ace-king hand. Ace-king off, pre, calls, flop, and turn on 10, 6, 3, two-tone, queen. Okay. So this is the only suited ace that I fold in any spot instead of open raising, and I am going to sit out on the table on the left. It's just not a great table, and we're wrapping up the session in 10 minutes anyway, so I might as well just single table the good table, I think. Not a ton of value in remaining there when I did get another table already, and I can focus on that fully. Now I think I've got about 20 hands to go over, which is, I don't know, is that too much? I wish I could just mark hands like I did back in the day. It is very frustrating, but I'm gonna try not to become frustrated by it, even though it's really goofy to not be able to just go back and easily review. All right, more water. It's very dry in the desert, in case anyone was wondering. Got to drink tons of water and moisturize. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to stay in Las Vegas for that long. I imagine I will move to either back east and be able to still play on this site, but then also have Poker Stars and like Party Poker / Borgata, or maybe back to California, in which case I play on Ignition, and you know, maybe at some point I'll start playing live again. Why do I have my light turned on? I have like my light turned on as if I'm recording something. I mean, I am recording something, but I'm not recording myself, my face. Okay, we'll do this, and I will move this over that way. There we go. So, you know, that's a lot of hands. Like, the thing is, I want to make sure that I'm not kind of overloading, right? Like, I'm not, this board is funny. I had a 3-3-5 board recently that then ran out 3-3, which was hilarious. But yeah, like, is this going to be too much? Like, can I quickly go through those and figure out which ones are the most important ones? I mean, I feel like I can just write a book from a single session. Like 20 hands, like, yeah, I could write 10,000, 20,000 words. What, 20 hands? I mean, 1,000 words a hand, that's not even a lot. It's not even a lot. So one day's worth of poker could easily be like very deeply analyzed. And, you know, that's always a thought, is just do that. And then the next day, do the study. I'm going to try this for a while. We'll see how it goes. All right, 6-8 offsuit is not a hand we are going to pursue. I don't want to get into reviewing the session yet, right? I don't want to be mentally doing that. I don't want to be checked out and already thinking, okay, how has this session gone? Like, what's a recap? Like, so I'm just not going to do that. I was about to do it anyway, but I won't. All right, so dial it in, 100% focus. All right, ace deuce, 8 deuce suited, clearly a fold. Raisy daisy, certainly a regular. I've seen them a lot. And we'll take a look. So Poker Master raised and got 3 calls. Everyone but I called. We have a pot-sized bet from MGM Ann. And we have a check raise. So we have, interesting, okay. Oh, I hope they call. This is definitely, let's see, check raise, queen, 10, 4, two-tone, 4 ways as PFR. Jams 3 of flush turn. Ho. Ho meaning heads up out of position. High is heads up in possession, and then we have mo for mi is multi-way in position, which is like you can be multi-way in the middle too. Maybe that should be but there they were kind of multi-way out of position. All right, so now I'm not focusing on this hand because I'm thinking about the last hand, but that's okay, right? I mean, sometimes it's okay to miss some pieces of information if the reason we're missing those pieces of information is that we are hyper-focused on other pieces of information that are also important. Like, there's probably not time to give full consideration to everything. And I'm going to check this undergutter and nail it. All right, so how much do we want to hit? How much do we want to bet after we hit the butt shot, as I call it? On this sort of thing, I think I am going to raise. I'm going to make it 11. And I mean, if they have queen 9, they have queen 9. That's fine. I'm not necessarily planning to stack off here. The reason I want to raise here is there's 2 flush draws and a third player in the pot. So I think that's a spot to just play it fast. All right, so the kind of loose passive players have also gone. I'm checking out the other tables. There is this one. Oh no, that's this one. Yeah, so the game started great, and now they're kind of meh. This one might be worth playing. We'll move that over. I am going to ISO here. I'm going to ISO to 9 because they do have the shorter stack. I don't think we need to, and we'll just sit in. Yeah. And just like play in orbit, basically. So here we have open limp cutoff. And we'll make that a note. All right, king 6 is going to be folded. For some reason I thought, oh yeah, so this S. Sanchez, right? And David 137. I don't know how they play. Well, now I know how they play. Or now I have an idea. All right, so we're gonna make a note, right? And if this checks through, all right, 6-4 off, I'm not gonna play. I'm definitely not calling a 2x overbet there. That's weird. But now we have a note, open limp NL200, right? And so even if I'm only gonna play an orbit or 2 orbits at this table, I can still gather information that can be useful tomorrow. I was gonna say that can be useful yesterday. That would be quite the trick. But it can be useful as soon as tomorrow or later today, right? My plan is to play 2 sessions a day and to have 2 session reviews, and then at night, basically have the night off aside from just a little bit of poker video watching, kind of little passive learning. Okay, we're gonna say open limp NL200. So I saw these 2 players. I didn't know how they played, but I saw their stack size and it was less than a full stack. And I think this is fairly common wisdom amongst players these days, but we'll sit out this one. But yeah, when you see players with partial stacks, frequently it means that they are not professional players at the very least, right? Doesn't mean that they play bad, but it means they are less likely than someone who's sitting with a full stack that's auto-reloading their full stack. It means they are less likely than that person to be like a solid regular player. And it's a reason to go to a table. You know, you say, oh, but there's less money to win. Okay, yeah. But these sort of stacks are almost the ideal, right? Where it's like, it's not quite a full. You can see that they're not hitting auto reload. They're probably just like, I'll buy in for my 200, I'll just play it. And there's some players who are very good, who choose to play half stack or choose not to have auto reload. Or if you're on ignition and there is no auto reload, then they have to manual reload and they're a little lazy about it, whatever. So don't make huge reads based on it. right? I mean, a lot of poker is not about making huge reads from a small amount of information. It's about making small, loosely held reads based on a small amount of information. And then when you get more information, you make stronger reads, more firm, more confidence. And that's just how it is. All right, so theoretically, I think 2 more minutes, and then my end your session alarm will go off. So do I want to keep playing and have a, what's it called? Do I want to keep playing and have it go over, or do I want to like preemptively stop? I'll probably just time it so that I will sit out after the next hand, even though this game looks quite good now. But that's the thing, like, if you want to have a loose schedule, you can do that and just make sure that you pay attention to how fresh you are, right? How you feel. Don't overdo it. But you can play some long sessions and some short sessions. But if you're doing what I'm doing and you're saying, okay, I want to try and fit poker into my life in a healthy way that I find satisfying and comfortable, and then I get to relax when I want to relax, then I'm just going to play the hours I'm planning to play. And even if the game's good, I'm going to quit. And there's my alarm. And I will hit sit out next blind. So I get one more free hand, which, as we saw with Ace King earlier, can be a very expensive free hand. Although, just as often, it can be a very profitable free hand. And usually it's junk. Like about 82% of the time, 83% of the time, I'm just going to be folding it. This hand looks like Poker Master raised after MJ called, and then David came along. And now we've got this large bet, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I think a large bet on this turn after checking back that flop is a little weird. And this is the type of hand that like you can just fold when you're like, I want to lock up my win. But like, you know, it's a profitable hand. Even with 3 loose players behind me, you know, it's a hand that plays well against a bunch of cold calls. So it's not a hand that I'm going to shave off my range because of the way the players play behind me. If they play GTO, great, this is a profitable hand. If they play, you know, loose and then weak post, great, this is a profitable hand. If everybody's super tight and they're going to fold a lot, great, this is a profitable hand. So I'm going to play it. And yeah, we get 1 cold call. And then the last hand, it went check, check, and then check, bet, fold. So I'm going to suspect this player plays fairly straight up. And I think I can probably just like show this down. And if they want to decide, hey, I want this pot, then I'm going to say, okay, good for you. Enjoy the pot. Consider it my parting gift. And that's it. I'm done. Okay, session 1 in the books. I'm going to do a little poker journal now, but hit like and subscribe and let me know if you want more videos like this. I don't know. I don't care. I'm going to make more and you can watch them or not. They probably won't go on the main channel. They'll be like hidden or something. But if you do like it, let me know if you've made it this far for sure. So how do I feel about this session? I feel good, right? I played the amount I wanted to play. I feel a little bit pessimistic in terms of getting the games I want at this hour. It started off good, and then it was less good. In terms of my play, a lot of spots to look over, a lot of spots. But I do like how I was thinking through decisions as it went along. A couple of spots where I was playing big pots, I felt it, right? And that's okay. I think I was cognizant of how I was feeling, and that's important because when we have like physical emotions, really, right? It's like it's the physiology actually reacting to the stress of the situation. I think just being aware of that makes it a lot easier to avoid any kind of negative effects on the decision-making process, and makes it a lot easier to notice if there are negative effects on the decision-making process. It makes it easier to notice that that's happening and then be like, okay, I need to take a break, or I need to do this other thing to try and dial that back, right? And I had a very cleanly timed break right when I had the big pot that I lost, and you know, I just did some breathing, just relaxed, and I felt better afterwards. And it's not that I felt terrible when that happened. but I felt it, right? And I was able to kind of just let go of it and then play the rest of the session. The rest of the session was a lot less eventful. I think the first half was kind of more interesting, but I just tried to keep talking through my decisions. I'm going to maybe play a second session today and not record that. And like every morning I will record one, and these will go, this one's going to be on YouTube, and then the other ones maybe will be on YouTube, but I'll only publish them like when I have members or something, or maybe they'll go on Patreon. I'm not sure. If people really like this format, then I can put one out every day, but I'm kind of skeptical that it's going to be easy to maintain that kind of viewership. People are going to be that interested. But anyway, let me know what you think. And yeah, so this is it for this very long session. And I am going to take a break, eat lunch, and then review these 20 some hands that I have marked. All right, cheers.